Well, I'm here to tell you, look like the reports could possibly be true. That is Caitlin Clark being done with the Indiana Fever. Now, the Los Angeles Sparks has been making noise behind the scenes. Lynn Roberts just finished up a press conference a few hours ago.
The rumor mill in professional basketball has completely lost its grip on reality. What you just heard is the kind of explosive, unconfirmed speculation that is currently tearing through the sports media ecosystem, suggesting a seismic shift that would fundamentally alter the league. But before you buy into the narrative that the most watched rookie in history is already packing her bags, we need to look at the actual evidence, the raw tape, and the undeniable financial realities of the CBA. The whispers of backroom deals and secret negotiations are loud, but the truth hiding underneath the noise is far more compelling.
With you. It ain't no place like Hollywood, bruh. LA is a big market, a lot of stars out there. Now, LeBron isn't there anymore. But one thing I can tell you, if Caitlin Clark is going to be on that basketball team, it is going to be.
There is a reason this specific rumor caught fire so quickly. The Los Angeles market operates like a gravitational pull for superstar talent, and the media desperately wants a marquee name to fill the void, treating every major transition like a heavyweight title fight promotion. The idea of pairing a generational playmaker with the stadium lighting of Hollywood is a broadcaster's absolute dream. It paints a picture of a broadcast chrome aesthetic, primetime slots, and an endless parade of celebrities sitting courtside. But wanting a blockbuster trade to happen and the logistics of executing one are two entirely different universes. We are currently witnessing an era where fans and commentators are attempting to speak transactions into existence based on sheer willpower and market size. The narrative implies that Indiana is merely a waiting room, a temporary camp before the real main event begins on the West Coast. However, to understand why these rumors are catching traction, you have to look at the supposed breadcrumbs being dropped by analysts, and how unrelated roster moves are being spun into massive conspiracy theories.
I don't know if it's true or not, but the inklings is looking like this could very much be a real thing. And just like I stated before, man, Jason Whitlock was the one who kind of broke this story. Now, if you guys have not heard the news came out earlier today that, the Sparks signed Kate Martin to a standing contract.
This is where the logic completely fractures. The situation involving Kate Martin is being presented as some sort of undeniable, telltale sign of a massive incoming trade, allegedly sparked by reports from figures like Jason Whitlock. Let us break down what actually happened. A team converting a player from a training camp contract to a standard, season-long roster spot is a routine operational procedure. It happens across the league when a rookie proves they possess the grit and execution required to survive the grueling professional schedule. Yet, in this hyper-reactive environment, a standard contract upgrade for a former collegiate teammate is suddenly being interpreted as a secret signal that a franchise-altering trade is imminent. This is the danger of the modern news cycle. People are connecting dots that do not exist on the same map. They are taking standard front-office housekeeping and dressing it up as camp secrets leaking to the public. If you want to know what is actually happening behind the scenes, you cannot look at the rumor pages. You have to look at the raw, unfiltered reality of the players and coaches currently fighting a war of attrition on the hardwood, and the toll this season is already taking on them.
Caitlin Clark is on the way. Do not be surprised. Now let's look.
Side of the press conference, Erica Wheeler and Rae Burrell, both in their own ways, showing a lot of passion that they really want this. Erica telling me that she's very frustrated. She got to be a better leader. Rae Burrell, I could see it on her face. She graciously did the interview with me, but I could tell like it was still affecting her.
That is what actual pressure sounds like. It is not about flashy thumbnails or hypothetical trades to warmer climates. It is the absolute frustration of veteran players realizing that raw talent is not enough to secure a victory in this league. When you hear the discussion pivot to Erica Wheeler and Rae Burrell, you are looking at the foundational pieces of these franchises who are carrying an immense psychological burden. These athletes are operating under a microscope that has never been more intense. Every missed rotation, every blown defensive assignment, and every post-game press conference is being dissected frame by frame. The passion they exhibit is not theatrical. It is the byproduct of a locker room desperately trying to find cohesion amidst a chaotic schedule. The transition from college to the pros, or from a rebuilding phase to the spotlight, requires a level of mental conditioning that most spectators completely ignore. They want the highlight reel, but they refuse to acknowledge the grueling, unglamorous groundwork required to build a functioning unit. This disconnect between the public's expectation of instant success and the harsh reality of building team chemistry is exactly why the coaching staff is sounding the alarm.
When you think about like the passion that these players have and their want to, how do you marry that with the execution that you just talked about in this film session to actually win games?
Yeah, and that's the issue right now, is the ability to push through and get out of our own way on some level.
Listen to the phrasing being used by the head coach. It sounds less like a standard basketball film session and more like a combat sports corner speech between rounds, getting out of your own way. The element of toughness, the effort that simply is not consistent. This completely shatters the illusion that you can just drop a superstar into a new market and automatically hang a championship banner in the rafters. The media loves to sell the idea of a super team, but the game is still dictated by the willingness to make the gritty, unrewarded plays. When a team looks disconnected, it does not matter how many cameras are pointed at the floor. The physical fatigue of the season is one thing, but the mental paralysis that sets in when a team loses its identity is entirely different. You can run all the complex offensive schemes in the playbook, but if the roster lacks the foundational grit to execute them under duress, the entire system collapses. This is the exact problem both of these organizations are currently trying to diagnose in real time.
Last night we just looked disconnected. Maybe that's because we sat out 8 days, didn't play, but I don't like using excuses. We got to be better. We're pros. We all have a job to do. We got to show up and do it better. And like I've said many times, the good news is today it's all about Indiana. We got to turn the page, learn from what we learned from what we saw last night. But that's not going to win any games. The level of connectedness.
That right there is the brutal honesty that rarely makes it into the viral social media clips. An 8-day layoff in professional sports is a massive disruption to a team's rhythm, and the resulting lack of connectedness is exactly what gets exposed against elite competition. When a coach publicly states that the team is missing the second and third efforts, they are pointing directly at the heart of the roster's culture. It is easy to sprint down the floor on a fast break when the crowd is on their feet. It is an entirely different level of professionalism to fight through a screen, contest a shot, and scramble for a loose ball when you are down by double digits in the third quarter. The talent is undoubtedly there, but talent without relentless execution is just unfulfilled potential. The refusal to accept excuses, the demand to simply be better because they are paid professionals, highlights the massive chasm between a team that looks good on paper and a team that is actually equipped to survive a playoff run. To fix this, you have to change how you prepare, which means altering the very structure of how the team operates behind closed doors.
Yeah. During this stretch, talk to me about just the decision today to just practice and just say, we're just going to watch film. If you want to shoot a little bit, you can shoot a little bit, but not even really do too much on court and just say, this is what we got to do. Here it is. Let's go do it.
And that's the reality at this point in the season too. We don't need to go through our plays right now today and wear them down physically. It's mentally having the focus and the intensity needed to execute. It's that simple.
This reveals the unseen chess match of a professional season. At a certain point, putting the players through physical, full-contact practice is actively detrimental to their performance on game day. The decision to strip away the physical exertion and rely entirely on film study and mental reps is a desperate attempt to preserve the roster's legs while forcing their minds to adapt. The general public drastically underestimates the sheer physical toll of playing a condensed schedule with travel days built in. The coach is explicitly stating that executing a game plan is not a physical limitation anymore. It is a mental choice. Focusing on the right coverages, being exactly where you are supposed to be defensively, and doing your specific job without hesitation requires an exhausting amount of concentration. It is simple in theory, but incredibly difficult to sustain for 40 minutes against opponents who are actively trying to exploit your weakest link. And when the starters inevitably burn out from that level of intensity, the responsibility falls entirely on a bench unit that has to somehow maintain that exact same standard.
Keep it going.
Well, they got to bring life off the bench, play with some confidence. And again, it's player 1 through every DB player. Like, execute what we're supposed to be doing. Be focused, be in the moment. Don't be thinking about the shot you missed or the foul you didn't get or the turnover you had or the fact that your player just scored. Like, next play mentality. It takes a level of toughness mentally. That's what I need from everybody.
That next play mentality is the defining characteristic of a championship organization. You cannot survive in this league if you carry the baggage of a missed shot or a bad turnover into your defensive assignment on the other end of the floor. When the coach is pleading for life off the bench and demanding that players step onto the hardwood with confidence, it exposes a vulnerability in the depth chart. The starters can only carry the burden for so long before the fatigue inevitably sets in. The secondary unit is not just there to burn clock. They are supposed to be an offensive hub, a spark plug that injects pace and aggression into a stalling offense. But if those role players are trapped in their own heads, paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake, the entire rotation crumbles. The mental toughness required to sit on the bench for 30 minutes, sub into a high-stakes possession, and immediately execute a flawless offensive set is staggering. And right now, the coaching staff is desperately searching for anyone on the roster willing to shoulder that specific responsibility while navigating a barrage of critical injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to do whatever. And, the key is to keep them fresh. We're down some key bodies. And, we got to maintain Necker, Diarca on the floor at all times. Rae, either Rae or Ariel, try to keep one of them on the floor. There's some nuance.
This brings us to the reality check that completely destroys the chaotic trade rumors circulating online. The Los Angeles roster is currently fighting a war of attrition. When a coach talks about being down key bodies, having to meticulously monitor the minutes of their core rotation, and the absolute necessity of keeping Diarca Hamby anchored on the floor at all times, it paints a picture of a team in survival mode. They are dealing with the devastating reality of losing foundational pieces like Cameron Brink and Lexi Brown for extended periods. Operating with a depleted depth chart means every substitution is a calculated risk. You do not orchestrate a massive, unprecedented trade for a rookie point guard and mortgage your entire draft future when your current roster is barely healthy enough to field a standard substitution pattern. The logistics simply do not align with reality. The franchise is focused entirely on keeping their remaining stars upright and finding nuance in a highly restricted rotation, not plotting a Hollywood heist for a player who is already locked into a different market. But the pressure on the players who are still healthy is reaching a breaking point.
So, she's an achiever, she wants to do right, she wants to win. So I'm trying to take a little pressure off of her, take some air out of the tires so that it's not such a bumpy ride.
Yeah, one thing she mentioned that she was saying that she feels like, and it's self-imposed, right? But she feels like she has a lot of expectations on her.
Yeah.
And on this new team,
yeah,
in this new role.
The psychological weight of a massive contract and a new role can completely alter a player's mechanics. When athletes transition into marquee positions, the expectations shift overnight. They are no longer just expected to contribute. They are expected to dominate, to carry the franchise, and to justify the financial investment made in them by the front office. This internal pressure causes players to force the issue, to overthink their natural shooting motion, and to try and solve every offensive possession entirely on their own. The coach's strategy to take the air out of the tires and encourage the player to take small bites is a masterclass in managing elite talent. You have to deconstruct the game back down to its fundamental elements. Make one good defensive read, set one solid screen, make the extra pass. The law of averages dictates that a great shooter will eventually find their rhythm, but the mental hurdle of playing through a slump while wearing the heavy crown of a franchise cornerstone is brutal. This dynamic is happening across the entire league right now, as a massive influx of attention and money is drastically changing the landscape of the sport.
And just lastly, the last time you played the Fever, they didn't have Clark. She hasn't played, since then. What do you expect? Are you expecting to play against the Fever with Caitlin Clark or without?
We don't know, so we'll find out tomorrow. I think tonight by 5 o'clock.
Get an update.
Yeah, they get the update, but we won't know. And obviously, the last time we've played them once with her, once without, so we've seen both, and we'll be ready either way.
Does that make a difference at this point in the season with where this team is at?
No, I mean, and not to discredit her. She's a phenomenal player. Obviously, they're better with her, but...
And there is the definitive answer, straight from the source. The reality of the situation is incredibly straightforward, despite the media's relentless attempt to complicate it. The team is simply preparing for a regular season matchup against the Indiana Fever. The coaching staff acknowledges the phenomenal talent on the opposing sideline. They recognize that the opposing team is significantly more dangerous at full strength, but it fundamentally does not alter their own internal approach to the game. There are no secret backroom deals happening in the shadows of this press conference. The viral rumors of a forced exit, the out-of-context quotes, and the bizarre leaps in logic regarding standard contracts were all manufactured to farm engagement from a fan base desperate for drama. The actual story is about two franchises dealing with the raw, uncompromising grind of professional basketball. It is about managing injuries, demanding mental toughness from a depleted bench, and navigating the crushing weight of public expectation in a rapidly growing league. The truth is far more rigorous than the fiction being sold on your timeline. The question you have to ask yourself now is simple. Will you continue to buy into the fabricated drama created by internet commentators, or will you start watching the actual game being played right in front of you? Let me know down in the comments what you think the real motive behind these rumors was. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss the actual breakdown of the tape.